You're listening to Glove Up or Shut Up on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
All right, so we got UFC 189 with Jose Aldo.
Yeah, no, that's not happening.
All right, so before we talk about that, let's just run through the list. UFC 189, Invicta Fight Championships 13, Tough 21 finale, UFC Fight Night 71. 4 shows. I mean, there's other shows that are running in Vegas, sort of like Dragon Gate and other stuff would run in WrestleMania. So you got the little minor promotions as well, but we're going to focus on 4 of these shows because there's a lot to get to on these cards. And let's start with UFC 189 with Jose Aldo's replacement, Chad Mendes, challenging Conor McGregor for
the interim
featherweight
title. Your favorite word in the English language, interim.
I hate interim titles. I get why they're doing it, but they're really putting themselves in a really bad position here because if McGregor wins, okay, you've got McGregor-Aldo unification match down the road, but it reeks of pro wrestling where you're basically booking an angle for 6 months. The problem is mixed martial arts is not pro wrestling. Shit can go wrong. I mean, Mendes is the number 1 contender for a reason. And the thing is, if Mendes beats McGregor for the interim title, we're going to have a unification fight with Aldo and Mendes. Mendes is 0-2 against Aldo.
Well, you know what? Then it'll be fun to watch him get beat up a third time.
Would a Mendes-Aldo 3 match get the same buy rate as a McGregor-Aldo one?
Well, that depends, because if Mendes was actually able to go out there and dominate McGregor and win the interim title, that would make for an interesting storyline. Jose Aldo could go in there talking smack like, you could only win the title when I wasn't around. Can you do it when I am? And they could build that up. That could be a fun fight.
Now, I'm not a doctor, but I don't know how much time you would have to heal from a fractured rib.
I'd say it was not enough time when he got injured, and that was 3 weeks, so I'd say at least a month.
So we're talking a month here, depending on how long this fight goes, because I have a sneaking suspicion. Usually when they have a short-term fight, they might shrink the fight from 5 rounds to 3, but because it's a title fight and because it's the main event, it's probably going to be 5 rounds. I don't see this fight going all 5 rounds.
I honestly think that with the height and reach advantage that McGregor has, and he'll be able to stuff enough of the takedowns to make a difference, I think he probably finishes him before the 3rd round.
If you look at the fight metrics for this fight, it's actually a worse fight for McGregor because, Team Alpha Male, they're very notorious on their takedowns, and McGregor is going to be planning for it. But, I mean, look at Team Alpha Male's recent success. I mean, they're playing with house money here.
They are. I'm not saying that it's not a winnable fight for Chad Mendes. I just think that with the role that Conor McGregor is on right now, the significant reach advantage that he has, it's like you always say when you get a John Jones fight. It's like, okay, he could face a great wrestler, and that wrestler might take him down more than he takes the other guy down, but can he get to the knees to get the takedown? And John Jones has that amazing reach, and he tags people before they can get to him. The only person we really saw put him on his back was Daniel Cormier, and he still lost that fight.
Now, do you think with McGregor's punching power that Mendes, do you think he respects the punching power of McGregor?
I think they equally respect each other at this point, even though all indications to the contrary when they are talking trash and saying mean things about each other, that's actually because they're trying to get into each other's heads. They do respect each other that much that they're looking for any little opening they can get.
If McGregor wins this fight, do you see him cutting an epic promo post-fight?
Of course. He'll immediately challenge Jose Aldo. He'll be like, hey, look here, fella. I got the belt now. Come and take this from me.
I think he should do the GSP thing, just throw the belt down, but if this isn't the real belt, I want the real belt.
You know what? He might do that too. I wouldn't put it past him.
Someone compared him, now I don't watch this show, but a couple of friends of mine do. It's Vikings.
I don't watch that show either.
But there's a comparison where McGregor is basically taking he's borrowing some aspects of one of the main characters as this intense warrior, and that's what he's using in his promos these days.
Well, he could just be mocking his own Gears of War commercial. This is war.
I saw a second one, actually. There's 2 now floating around with him.
What's the second one?
There's one where this is war, and there's another one in the cage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, but there are more fights to talk about, but before we do that, who do you got?
I already said I got Conor McGregor. I think the reach advantage and just the sheer ferocity that he is fighting with is going to be a huge difference maker in this. And Chad Mendes, great fighter, challenged multiple times, as you've already noted, is the number one contender for a reason, but is also the bridesmaid for a reason.
I'm actually leaning towards Mendes and an upset to shock the world.
If Mendes had a full camp going into this, I'd feel a little differently. But as a late replacement, I know he'll make weight. I know he'll have a great fight. But I don't see him having had enough time to plan for McGregor, whereas McGregor put in a full camp, and even if it was for somebody else, it was a full camp.
Do you think McGregor's ever been tagged?
I'm sure he has been. That's part of the reason that Conor McGregor talks about being a warrior. He's not afraid to get hit to give a punch.
Some fighters, they don't like taking shots, right? Like Brock Lesnar he never recovered once he got hit in the head a couple times. Like it's the opposite of Chris Lieben, where Lieben needs to bleed before he really gets pissed off.
He needs to be hit in the nose just to wake him up. That's Chris Lieben.
Now, did you hear about this supposed bet with McGregor and Dana White?
Yeah, he tried to put $3 million on the fight.
Ugh.
He's insane. It's just hype. It's just part of building up the fight.
Now, is this the first show they're going to be wearing the new UFC fight kits?
Yeah, this is official. UFC 189 is the start of everything. The Reebok deal, the USADA testing, everything new all goes into effect for International Fight Week.
Well, the testing already happened. We'll talk about a fighter who's been suspended for a year later on in the show, which shocked me because it's not a fighter you would expect to
right, but I'm not just talking about the testing. I'm talking about the rules for rehydration, and we're going to get into that as well.
Oh, yeah.
We'll definitely get into that.
For the welterweight title, the much-anticipated fight between Robbie Lawler and Rory McDonald.
Rematch, actually, not just anticipated.
I know it's a rematch, but both fighters are red hot. Lawler 6-1 in his last 7 fights. McDonald 8-1 in his last 9 fights. The only loss on McDonald's record in his last 9 fights was against Lawler, and Lawler's only loss was when he fought Hendricks for the title, which he avenged in the rematch to win the title. So, this is going to be a great fight here. This fight could be a contender for fight of the night if McGregor and Mendes doesn't, get that honor.
And you know what's sad?
No, what?
The fact that this fight is getting completely overlooked because of Conor McGregor and how big of a persona he is and how much shit he stirs. That's all people are talking about is Conor McGregor this, Conor McGregor that. They've completely forgotten there is another title fight on this show.
I love how it's International Fight Week and we had Brazil, Ireland, Canada, and USA, and now it's USA, Canada, USA, Ireland.
The complexion has changed a little, but, that's part of the reason that Conor McGregor gets all the hype is because so many people are flying over from Ireland just to see him.
I would have loved to have McGregor, Aldo, and the fans start chanting USA and have Don West be like, are they cheering for the Mexican or the Brit?
That happened at a Bellator show I was at recently.
No.
Yeah, there was a crowd chant of USA, USA during the featherweight fight between Patricio Pitbull Freire and Daniel Weichel. And I'm looking around at the crowd behind me. I'm like, you guys are, no offense, but you guys are morons because this guy's from Germany and this guy's from Brazil. So who are you chanting USA at?
Well, obviously the referee.
They must have been.
Oh, man. All right. So, obviously, you know who I'm going to pick in this one.
Yeah, but guess what? I'm picking him, too.
There you go.
I just think Rory McDonald is the best welterweight fighter to come along since George St. Pierre, and I think this is his crowning moment. I think he proves it in this fight.
Now, there is a rumor floating around. I've heard of this from a couple people. With GSP on the fence with the drug testing and what have you, if he ever comes back and McDonald wins a couple of fights as the welterweight champ, could we see GSP versus the next GSP?
You know what? You keep speculating about this on the show, and I'm not dogging you for that, but I've reached my limit with how much I can speculate on that fight because until GSP says he's coming back, there's no point.
You put that fight in Montreal. Don't put that in Vegas. You put that fight in Montreal or Toronto. Hell, put it in Ottawa. Put it somewhere close to Montreal if Montreal's busy, if the Habs have some playoff run or a hockey game or whatever. put that fight in Montreal or Ottawa or Toronto, and you will sell at that place before the blink of an eye.
Of course you will, but first GSP has to come back, and there's no indication that he plans to. He trains, he works out, he's helping the guys at TriStar, but he's made no indication to UFC that he has any desire to return to fighting yet.
I still hear reports that he's in the best shape of his life.
Of course he is, but again, he's multiple times been asked if he wants a UFC fight, and closest you even get to him hinting at it is, quote, not yet, unquote.
Now, what do you do with this fight if Lawler wins? Like, who do you have him fight next?
I say do a contenders match with him and somebody in the top 5.
Yeah, I don't think you put him against Hendricks again. I don't think you put a rematch with McDonald, but you never know. This fight could be a situation where, hey, let's rematch these guys like, we've seen in the past.
It could just end up being a round-robin tournament at some point. We could see the belt bouncing between McDonald, Hendricks, and Lawler, rinse, lather, repeat.
Who's the fourth man in that one?
I don't know. It's round-robin, so there's only 3 as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I mean, Hendricks definitely would be up there. He's a former champ. He has he's got a fight coming up, but with Lawler and McDonald, that's going to be, am I wrong in thinking that's going to be fight of the night?
You're very, very, very close to being right. The only way to know for sure is to wait till Saturday.
The only person that could put in the fourth man, if you want to do a semi-tournament or whatever and have him rotate whatever
Condit.
it is.
Put Condit in there.
Condit or Woodley?
Yeah, I'd go with Condit over T. Wood.
And Matt Brown's knock on the window. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Oh, you got any chewing tobacco over there? Oh.
Well, Matt Brown has already had his chance, so he's at the back of the pack for a reason.
He's got a couple more. He has to win a couple more fights to get back in that main conversation for the belt. But
right, the Lawler fight was proof in the pudding right there that Matt Brown is at a level he won't get past.
All right, well, let's move on. Dennis Bermudez and Jeremy Heaton-Stevens.
And who do you got in this fight, Peter?
This is a coin flip fight for me. I like both fighters. Oh, I hate saying this. I'm going to go with Bermudez.
I don't hate you for saying it because I picked him too.
Yeah, it's just I like Stevens a lot though, but I just think this matchup favors Bermudez. Like, sometimes fighter styles don't mesh well. I think this is a fight that Bermudez can win.
And I think Bermudez has something to prove here after getting choked out in the first round by Ricardo Lamas. He was on one heck of a streak before that fight. He wants to get back to his winning ways in a hurry, and I think they gave him the ideal opponent for that, because if they stand there and trade, I think that favors Bermudez.
Now, what about Nelson and Thatch? That's another good fight.
I've got Thatch in that one.
It is a coin flip fight. I can make arguments for both fighters winning this fight. It will not go to the judges. I'm going to say Nelson, but, this is why you fight the fights, right?
Absolutely. But I think we both agree that Almeida is winning his fight.
Oh, yeah. Brad Pickett is not winning that fight. Now, do you think if Pickett loses, because,
he's getting cut.
You think so?
I think he's lost too many, and he's going to lose big time to Almeida, because Almeida is a force of nature that they haven't seen the likes of in that class in a while. So
yeah, because UFC never cuts fighters.
Yeah, well, they cut 14. We're going to talk about that in the news. But, look at it. Pickett's only won 2 fights out of his last 6, and this will be his 3rd loss in a row. Yeah,
3 strikes are out.
I think so. I think Pickett needs to go back to the minor leagues.
Does this mean Almeida climbs up the rankings, or?
Not like top 5 or anything, but he moves up.
The aforementioned Matt Brown fights Tim Means as the main event in the prelims.
Mm-hmm. You know what? That could go either way.
How do you have a fight with the champ and then you're main eventing a prelim?
Well, he might have actually asked for that. We have seen this before. Last year in Vegas, Uriah Faber asked to be the main event of the prelims because he figured it would be more viewers than would see him and more that he would put sponsorship money in his pocket just by being the main event on TV.
So Matt Brown, Tim Means, you go back to that argument you said about Bermudez where he's got something to prove here. With Tim Means, I don't think a loss means he's out of a job, but it's going to be a good fight.
The Dirty Bird is a very popular fighter. This guy always gets great reaction, and I don't know why you think he's getting cut on a loss anyway, because he's put together 4 wins in a row.
Yeah, but I'm saying some fighters can lose a fight and not be worried about cutting. As you said, there were 14 fighters that got cut, most of them. Yes, I mean, you could see the writing on the wall, but I mean, if they're in cutting season right now, you don't even want to lose more than one or two.
Right. Now, the guy who actually you would be concerned about is Matt Brown, and Matt Brown is so popular, there's no way a loss hurts him. It'd be 3 in a row, but the way the guy fights and the fights that he's had, he's put on spectacular performances. So
yeah, and Bellator's waiting. Cut him.
Yeah,
like,
they would beg for that guy to come and fight in their welterweight division. They would love that. In fact,
there's a couple good fights. I would love to see him fight in Bellator.
Their entire card next week, and we're going to talk about that, is all welterweights on the main card.
That's going to be a good show.
Mm-hmm.
Now, John Howard and Catherine Pendred.
Catal.
Damn, Catal. Howard wins that one by
boredom?
Yeah, decision. I'm going to say decision, unanimous.
Yeah, he'll probably just take Pendred down and work him on the ground.
Alex Garcia and Mike Swick. That's a very interesting fight, actually.
I don't know why, but I thought Mike Swick was retired.
No, this is the first fight back, isn't it? After a few years off.
Yeah, well, the last time he fought was 2012.
Yeah, I think he comes out.
Speaking of Matt Brown.
Yeah, exactly. I think he comes out and, it's a statement fight for him in the sense that I'm back, motherfucker, and let's bring it on, pardon my French. But, let's just do this. Like, I think he wants to prove that he is back with a vengeance here.
I think there's actually more to prove for Alex Garcia, because the only guy he lost to in his last 7 fights was Neil Magny, and that was a decision. So he didn't get blown out of there, but he got beaten by a better man in a grueling fight, and I'm sure he took whatever you could learn from that loss and made himself a better fighter since then.
Yeah, it's one of those fights in the prelims that I'm going to be watching with a keen interest, that's for sure.
Yeah, this is a very good card top to bottom.
Yep, Henry Briones against Cody Garbrandt. That's the last fight on the Fox Sports 1 TSN prelim portion of the card.
Right, and Fight Pass is Neil Siri versus Louis Smolka, and Yosdenis Cedeno versus Cody Pfister.
Cody Pfister, the first fight on the Fight Pass prelims.
That's right.
Aye.
Can't get much lower than that.
No, I think both those fighters are thinking, okay, we need to step it up because we don't want to be back in this position next time.
No, yeah. That's when you're looking at the release list that just came out and you're thinking to yourself, I'm going to be one of these guys if I'm not careful.